you you mentioned the kind of impulse towards electrifying everything, which has become kind of the drill baby drill of our current milieu. I've read some resource analysts like Simon Michaud who say that there is nowhere near the actual mineral wealth necessary to facilitate a transition to renewable and a renewable electric system. And then other people say that there's a superabundance of these materials. Um, I guess because I want to believe in the inherent goodness of people, I approach that by saying that, well, okay, these different groups of people are all doing a systemic analysis, and the key to any system model is what are your start conditions and what's the size of your system. And so the differences in their answers, I don't think is because one group is being intentionally disingenuous, but because they have different ways of describing that system as they set it up. So, as someone who's studied these issues in depth, um, where do you think the truth is here?
Well, of course, the temptation is to say it's somewhere in between, but it's that's a facile answer because this is a very complex problem.
Mhm.
Simon Michaud has been raked over the coals in recent literature for his, and he's a mining guy. He's works for the Finnish Geological Survey, Finland's Geological Survey. So he's mining is his forte, and so he should know a thing or two about mineral resources. Nevertheless, he has been rebutted very effectively in print by a number of analysts who say, well, no, in reality, there's lots of copper and lithium and neodymium and all of these minerals that we're going to need for the renewable energy revolution. We just need to open new mines and so on. Now, I have written a few books on resource depletion, mostly relating to fossil fuels, but the spending years on this subject has taught me one thing, and that is you need to understand the resource quality pyramid if you're going to understand future availability of any non-renewable resources. The resource availability pyramid is like the easy stuff is at the top, and as you drill down through that pyramid to get the harder stuff, the extent of the resources increase, but the amount of effort required to get those resources increases exponentially.
Hmm.
So some surveys say, well, we have thousands of years worth of coal in the world. And theoretically, that's right. But if you start looking at where that coal is, a lot of it's under seabeds where it'd be very costly to extract. Some of it's in coal seams that are very thin, very difficult to extract. Some of it's chemically bonded with very toxic chemicals and minerals that will make it very expensive to extract. Some of it's very deeply buried, and so on. So if you just look at the coal that's actually economical to extract, it's a much smaller quantity. The same basic principle is going to be true with all of these minerals. Yeah, there's potentially enough to build out the first generation or maybe even the second generation of wind turbines and solar panels and all the industrial equipment that we're going to need for all renewable energy system. But as time goes on, it's going to get harder and harder, more expensive to get those minerals. Now, the answer, of course, that's being proposed is the circular economy, just recycling everything. Okay, we get some lithium out of the ground, and then we just continue recycling it forever and ever more. But there are practical limits to recycling. Many materials degrade as they're recycled. And one estimate that I read, very interesting study by a French researcher, looking at the limits to recycling. Okay, so we get the first generation of all these materials in sufficient quantity to build the systems and so on, how long could we continue to recycle them? How long would industrial civilization last on that basis if we continue at the current scale?
Mhm.
His answer was 200 years, which, that means you and I can go to bed tonight and sleep soundly because, we're not going to be around 200 years from now. But if we're thinking about a civilization's longevity, 200 years is an eye blink in time. But that's just one calculation. Nobody knows the exact answer to these questions. What's important to understand is the basic trends, how it's, what the trade-offs are, the resource pyramid and the increase in cost and difficulty and energy input required as minerals deplete.